So the next story I want to talk about is this Cambridge Analytica story and why it's important. Okay. Now, Cambridge Analytica, this has come up several times already in the past. This isn't the first time this right wing company has come up in the news, but I was reading this breaking story from The Guardian. Okay, The Guardian is I like The Guardian. They are a lot of times they're ahead of the corporate media here in America. A lot of breaking stories. The Guardian breaks a lot of stuff that the U.S. media is either slow to break or they don't break it at all. Okay, so I go to the Guardian a lot because they have a lot of the new stuff that comes out. But the Guardian has this whistleblower, and they're calling it the Cambridge Analytica files. And this whistleblower, this data scientist, is quoted as saying, "I made Steve Bannon's psychological warfare tool." Okay, so first and foremost, I want to get this pointed out clear and present for everybody. Um, this is a form. This is not just ads, because you will have people who will try to narrow this down. People who want to play this story down and try to say that it's not real relevant, and it's the people who want to make excuses for it, and going back to what I was saying a second ago about willful ignorance. People who kind of want to be willfully ignorant about this. Okay, you're gonna have a lot of people who say, well, it's just some ads on Facebook, yada yada yada. No, this was a form of psychological warfare. Okay, this was a form of this was something that they use in foreign countries. Okay, to attack elections in foreign countries. And actually, this article actually shows from The Guardian, the Cambridge Analytica files actually shows that similar tools were used in over 200 developing nations around the world. Okay, so this wasn't even just used in the United States. This was used in the Brexit election in the United Kingdom. Okay, so this was a right wing. I'm not going to read the whole article because, quite frankly, it's too long, and the story is important because, well, I already read that. I was reading something that I read a second ago. Yeah, so I'm not going to read the whole article, okay? But I implore people to read the article themselves, and I was tweeting the article last night, and I want to pull up a few of the screen caps, the important screen caps of this story. Okay, so by the time Steve Bannon had become Trump's chief strategist, Cambridge Analytica's parent company, SCL, had won contracts with the U.S. State Department and was pitching to the Pentagon. And Wiley, who was the data scientist who was blowing the whistle, was genuinely freaked out. He said, quote, "It's insane." He told me one night, the company has created psychological profiles of 230 million Americans. And now they want to work with the Pentagon. It's like Nixon on steroids. Okay, this is very dangerous because people in the media, the corporate media, would have you believe that the only thing we need to be focused on is Russia. Okay, and even though they are covering this Cambridge Analytica story, there's a lot of stuff that they're not even mentioning from this Guardian article that I think is extremely important. Okay, there's a lot of information that's just being left out and glossed over. Okay, this is deeper than just ads on Facebook. First of all, they violated Facebook terms of service, which is why Facebook banned them. But Facebook was very slow in stopping this. Facebook just banned them recently. Okay, they've known about this for a long time now. So Facebook, I'm telling people now, like I have a Facebook group that I promote sometimes, but I really don't do a lot on Facebook, and it's because of stuff like this. Now, now it's not to say that this can't happen on Twitter. It definitely can. Okay, but we have to be mindful that you have these white supremacists and you have these alt-right types, okay, who are using military tactics against you. Okay, this was a form of information warfare, and that needs to be harped on. Okay, because we're not just talking about ads, we're talking about deliberate disinformation. Okay, a form of mind control in many ways, if you will. That's what we're talking about here. So let me read another excerpt from the article to you. Okay? Wiley oversaw what may have been the first critical breach when he was 24 while studying for a PhD in fashion trend forecasting. He came up on a plan to harvest the Facebook profiles of millions of people in the United States and to use their private and personal information to create sophisticated psychological and political profiles, and then target them with political ads designed to work on their particular psychological makeup. He says, quote, "We broke Facebook." Okay, and he did it on behalf of his new boss, Steve Bannon. It is fair to say, and then the investigators ask him, quote, "Is it fair to say you hacked Facebook?" And then he hesitated and said, "I'll point out that I assumed it was entirely legal and above board." So basically, they hacked Facebook. And they got information that they really shouldn't have had access to. Okay? This is a crazy story. Okay, and here's another excerpt. "And through it all, Wiley and I, plus a handful of editors in a small international group of academics and researchers, have known that at least since 2014, that certainly wasn't the case, because Wiley has the paper trail, and it's referring to something else from earlier in the article that I didn't highlight, where they're denying that they're denying certain things. Cambridge Analytica, they're making all sorts of denials and things like that, and it's basically saying that no, this whistleblower has receipts. Okay, he has receipts, he has invoices, he has emails, he has legal letters, he has records that have shown that show that how between June and August of 2014, the profiles of more than 50 million Facebook users have been harvested. Most damning of all, he had a letter from Facebook's own lawyers admitting that Cambridge Analytica had acquired the data illegitimately. So Facebook has known about this since 2014. Going public involves an enormous amount of risk. Wiley is breaking a non-disclosure agreement and risks being sued. He is breaking the confidence of Steve Bannon and Robert Mercer. So who is Robert Mercer? Robert Mercer, okay, let me pull up some data. Robert Mercer is a far-right financier of the alt-right. He's a billionaire, and this is why, in this fight against white supremacy, it's not a fair fight. Okay, because we have to understand white supremacists and white supremacist groups receive billions of dollars in funding on a yearly basis from people like the Mercers, from people like the Koch brothers. They get all kinds of money. It is not a fair fight. Okay, they are waging psychological warfare and an information war, deliberately using bots. Okay, they're deliberately manipulating the talking points. This is an ideological war. Okay, it's not, and liberals get on this thing, and liberals and progressives get on this thing where they like to say, okay, well, we can debate them in the public space of ideas, in the marketplace of ideas. That's not what these people are trying to do. They don't care about the damn marketplace of ideas. They're spreading disinformation. They're spreading propaganda, deliberately spreading propaganda. Okay, and it's these stories like it's the Cambridge Analytica, which was a U.S. company, not a Russian company, a U.S. company funded by a U.S. right-wing billionaire. Okay, it's it's U.S. companies and it's U.S. Groups. Like when you look at Chris Kobach, and I'm gonna talk about Kobach in a second. It's Americans who played the biggest role in illegitimately getting Trump elected in 2016. Okay, yes, Trump might be guilty of some shady business deals with Russians. You know, he definitely might be guilty of money laundering and or his foundation or whoever around him. There definitely be some money laundering going on and some illegal activity in that sense. And there might even be conspiracy charges that might be coming down the pipe. Okay, but I'm telling you guys this right now. They will not prove that Russia had anything to do with the outcome of the 2016 election. That part of the Russia story is a diversion. Okay, because what they don't want to talk about is they don't want to talk about the U.S. people, the Americans, okay, who devised these voter suppression schemes like Chris Kobach and these Americans like Bannon and Mercer and Cambridge Analytica, okay, who hacked Facebook and illegally gained, or this is according to the article. Okay, this is according to what's being insinuated in the Guardian article, who illegitimately got access to the data of millions of people to manipulate the public, to launch a major Psyop campaign against the American people. All right? So while they're talking about Russians, understand that it's Americans. It's Americans waging war against other Americans that led to Donald Trump. Donald Trump should not be president of the United States right now. Donald Trump was all but installed. Okay, and I use that word very loosely. Okay, because people did vote for him. Okay, but understand that in order to get Trump in office, they had to suppress the votes of millions of people. They had to devise these schemes, these psychological operation schemes on social media. Okay, they had to do all of this stuff to get Trump in office. And this is a plot that had been hatched. People were planning this at least since 2014. So they were planning this for a while. Okay. So that's all I wanted to primarily say about that story. Because like I said, I'm not going to read the article verbatim. Let me just read this one last highlighted quote. In the history of bad ideas, this turned out to be one of the worst. The job was research director across the SCL Group, a private contractor that has both defense and elections operations. Its defense arm was a contractor to the UK's Ministry of Defense and the US DoD, among others. Its expertise was in psychological operations or psyops. So when I say that, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. You literally had a group that was part of Cambridge Analytica, okay, who their expertise was psyops. Their expertise was waging psychological war on unsuspecting groups of people. Changing people's minds not through persuasion, not through this BS notion of the marketplace of ideas that a lot of liberals and progressives like to get on, not through persuasion, but through, quote, informational dominance, end quote, a set of techniques that include rumor, disinformation, and fake news. SCL Elections had used a similar suite of tools in more than 200 elections across the world, mostly in underdeveloped democracies that Wiley, the whistleblower, would come to realize were unequipped to defend themselves. So this has, understand the impact of this. This goes beyond this psyop itself, right? It goes beyond the psyop itself. Okay, because Trump is in office now, think about all the damage that's been done. Okay, the families that have been torn apart, the lives that have been lost, and may be lost in the future because of this little scheme and this little scam that they had going on. This is deeply, deeply, deeply problematic.